Have you ever wondered why the kindest people are often the most broken? Why those with the purest intentions get left behind while the cunning rise to the top? Have you ever asked yourself, what if the game was never fair to begin with? And what if surviving, truly surviving, meant becoming something more? Imagine this. You extend your hand in loyalty and it's bitten. You offer your truth and it's mocked. You give your heart and it's shattered. At first you question the world, then you question yourself. But then something clicks, a shift happens. A voice, ancient and clear, speaks through the chaos, not to comfort you, but to awaken you. A prince must be both a lion and a fox. This wasn't just advice, it was a warning. A mirror. A challenge to everything you thought you knew about strength, kindness, leadership, and power. Because the truth is, this world does not operate on justice. It operates on perception, strategy, and force. And to navigate it, to rule your own life within it, you must become a dual force. Cunning enough to see the trap, powerful enough to break it. Machiavelli didn't write for the naive. He wrote for those who had tasted betrayal and needed a sword of insight to survive it. He saw what many fear to see, that power is not about being loved, nor about being feared, but about knowing when to be which. So what does it mean to be both lion and fox? Let's begin with the lion. The lion is instinct, dominance, presence. It commands attention. It demands respect. It does not ask. It does not retreat. In a world of whispers and passive aggression, the lion is your roar, the part of you that says enough, that refuses to shrink so others feel more comfortable, that doesn't flinch when the room turns cold. You feel it when you look injustice in the eye and say, not here, not to me. It's the fire in your gut that won't let you be stepped on, the force that says, I may lose, but I will not be moved. But the lion, in its pride and strength, has one fatal flaw. It believes others are as honest as it is. It doesn't see the smile hiding the knife. It doesn't anticipate the softness that cloaks sabotage. The lion charges into the trap because it sees only the surface, not the strings being pulled behind it. That's where the fox comes in. The fox doesn't roar. It listens. It moves through the world like smoke, quiet, alert, calculating. It watches patterns, not just words. It senses motives, not just moves. The fox survives not through force, but through foresight. It knows that people lie, not always out of cruelty, but out of fear, insecurity, desperation, and it knows how to use that knowledge. Not to manipulate, but to navigate. The fox is the part of you that steps back when you feel pressure to react, the part that notices the subtle shift in someone's tone, the hesitation in their promise. It's the voice that whispers, there's more to this than you see. And so it waits, it positions, it plans. Yet the fox, for all its brilliance, cannot stand in the storm. It avoids conflict to preserve itself. It sees too much, feels too little. It survives, yes, but it rarely leads, it rarely commands. And Machiavelli saw the danger in both extremes. The lion alone is brave but blind, the fox alone is smart but silent. To be ruled by only one is to be unbalanced, vulnerable, exposed. But to master both, that is sovereignty. And sovereignty is not reserved for kings or rulers. It belongs to anyone who chooses awareness over reaction. To anyone who decides to no longer be a pawn in someone else's game. Think about your own life. How many times have you tried to lead with heart, only to be betrayed by those who smiled while planning your fall? How often have you spoken truth, thinking it would be enough, only to realize the world rewards illusions? How often have you been strong, only to fall into a trap you didn't see coming? That's not failure, that's misalignment. The world is not honest, it's strategic, and if you refuse to learn the masks others wear, you'll spend your life being punished for showing your real face. So what's the answer? You learn when to be the lion, when to stand your ground, when to speak with fire, when to draw the line so clearly that no one crosses it twice. Not to dominate, but to declare, I will not be moved. And you learn when to be the fox, when to step back, to observe, to listen between the lines. When someone flatters you too much, when silence hides intent, when patience is more powerful than action. The lion in you is strength, but the fox in you is survival. One without the other is a sentence. Together, they are freedom. But most people don't live in that balance. They either roar too loud and miss the trap, or they stay so quiet they disappear. They either die on every hill to prove a point, or they never take a stand at all. And life punishes both. Machiavelli wasn't teaching cruelty, he was teaching clarity. He wasn't calling for heartlessness, he was calling for self-possession. And now, more than ever, you are being called to awaken that within yourself. Because the world is changing fast. Appearances rule, weakness is exploited, loyalty is taken for granted, and unless you learn to see through the fog, you will be led by those who have none of your morals but all of your attention. So start to look closer, at people, at power, at yourself. Ask, am I roaring too soon? Am I too afraid to speak? Have I become too predictable, too easy to read? Because the greatest power is not noise, it is presence. It's being able to walk into a room and make people adjust, not because you demanded it, but because you knew exactly when to speak and when to wait. This is not duplicity, it is depth. It's not manipulation, it's maturity. It's knowing that if you act like a lion at the wrong time, you destroy your own strategy. And if you act like a fox at the wrong time, you vanish from your own story. So we begin the real question, not just how to be both, but when to be which. Timing. That is the final layer. That is the crown jewel of all strategy. Because even power, when mistimed, becomes weakness, and even truth, if delivered too soon, becomes ammunition in the wrong hands. Machiavelli understood this, that wisdom and strength were nothing without discernment, that the mastery of the lion and the fox isn't in simply having both, but in knowing which to become in each moment, because life does not give you clear signals. There's no alarm that tells you, now's the time to roar, or now's the time to vanish. And so most people misfile, roaring when they should watch, staying silent when they should have stood tall. That's not a failure of power, it's a failure of perception. So you must sharpen that perception. Life is fluid. One moment you are a student, the next a leader. One moment you're being tested in silence, the next you're being baited into a war of words. You must move like water, bending when necessary, becoming fire when required. In the workplace, the fox is the one who sees everything but speaks little. They notice alliances forming behind closed doors. They understand the silent politics of power. But when the moment comes, when disrespect crosses a line, the lion emerges, not with emotion but with certainty, not to attack but to assert, not asking for respect but establishing it. In love, the fox sees when affection starts to fade. It notices the pauses, the absences. It does not deny them, it does not beg, it simply watches. But love, true love, requires risk, and here the lion must rise. Because to love fully is to be vulnerable, to be seen, to say, this is who I am, and I will not hide. Even in friendship, in politics, in family dynamics, the question remains, can you shift? Can you move between insight and impact? Between silence and strength? That is what separates leaders from followers, strategists from reactors, survivors from sovereigns. The fox teaches you not to take everything at face value, that not every compliment is genuine, not every apology is real. The truth, when handed to the wrong person, becomes a weapon. But the fox does not live in fear, it lives in awareness, and awareness is rare. Most people live in reaction. Insult me, I attack. Betray me, I collapse. Ignore me, I chase. But the fox calculates. The fox collects. It watches the battlefield form, and when the trap is disarmed, when the timing is exact, the lion moves. Sucker. Clean, powerful, final. Think back. How many regrets came not from lack of strength but poor timing? Saying too much, saying too little. Trusting too soon, holding back too long. That is the lesson Machiavelli offers us, not to abandon emotion but to master it, not to erase the heart but to protect it. This isn't about coldness, it's about clarity. Because in a world that weaponizes your softness and exploits your loyalty, clarity is your only shield. And when you walk with both fox and lion alive within you, you become dangerous, not because you seek to harm, but because you cannot be easily harmed. You do not fall for flattery. You are not shaken by silence. You are not baited into battles beneath you. You choose your wars. You lose some, but never yourself. This is Machiavelli's final gift. Not a philosophy of domination, but a framework of discernment. Not to become feared, but to become free. Free from illusions, free from manipulation, free from your old self, the one that begged to be seen, the one that broke trying to be understood. You begin to sculpt your responses. You move with precision, you listen with intensity, you speak with force, but only when the moment demands it, because true strength is quiet, true cunning is calm, and the union of both is not noise, but presence. That is when the world starts to move around you. That is when people stop underestimating you. And that is when you stop being ruled by others' opinions and begin to rule your own life. So the next time life presses in, ask, is this a moment for the fox or the lion? And when you answer correctly, consistently, intentionally, then you have arrived, not at the end of a lesson, but at the beginning of sovereignty.